France right now. Our grandma flew from Boston to Paris to see us. We rented a car to drive to Germany to see family who lived in Dusseldorf. To break up the long drive, we stopped at Dinant, Belgium on the way over, and Luxembourg on the way back. Dinant is a little city in South Belgium, with the river Meuse in front and steep cliffs in the back. It is where Adolphe Sax, the inventor of the saxophone, was born and raised. His parents were musical inventors and inspired him to become one too. Adolphe has experienced many near-death events in his childhood, including being hit in the head by a cobblestone and falling into a river, almost drowning. Despite his early misfortunes, he went on to invent the saxophone, saxotromba, sax tuba, and sax horn. We can see the city is very proud of his achievements, with a bronze statue and a museum. Saxophones are in every restaurant along the main bridge. The sheer cliff along the Meuse made Dinant a perfect place to build a citadale. Up high, defenders can see from miles away, and their weapons would have a much better range than the attackers. I climbed those steep stairs, and it was hard. I can't imagine attackers trying to reach the top without stairs. Many wars were fought in Dinant. The bloodiest one is during World War I. Nowadays, there is a museum in the citadale that describes the war in gruesome details. We saw the heavy artillery, such as guns, bayonets, and flaming cannonballs, filled with hot oil. They even recreated a trench, the signature of World War I, with such loud gunfire sounds and bombs that scared my brother and I so much. We yelped with fear and fell to the ground at our grandmother's feet. We learned that Charles de Gaulle was hit in the leg in that war here in Dinant, and that many civilians were massacred. On a lighter note, there is a collapsed room that really boggles your mind. The ground is at a slant, but gravity makes you not in harmony with it. Our grandma was so dizzy, she swore that the floor was moving. There is also a cool chapel at the bottom of the hill that has beautiful stained glass windows. It was built and rebuilt over the years, and you can get a good view of its cross-shaped roof at the citadale as well. Benji, I think you would love Dinant. It is a place for worship and climbing awesome fortresses. Luxembourg in many ways is like Dinant, because it started as a fortress city built along a river on top of a steep cliff. But it is on a much grander scale. It is one of the smallest countries in Europe, and it still has a monarch. When he first arrived, the Grand Duke was leaving his house. The guards were patrolling the area by walking 20 feet, and police motorcycles were flanking the car from both sides. Luxembourg was founded by Count Siegfried of the Ardennes, who traded his land for a little fort on the Alzette River in 963 CE. Legend has it that he married a woman named Melusine who only had one condition: let her bathe in privacy. Eventually, Siegfried became curious and peeked at Melusine, who really was a mermaid. When Melusine figured out, she left and never came back. But in real history, Siegfried's descendants expanded the city and made it an important fortress. Many wars were fought over the land. Many countries tried to control it. Eventually, the people of Luxembourg had enough and declared neutrality by tearing down its military buildings. That's why it is defenseless in World War I and World War II. After Luxembourg became neutral, it went from being mostly military men to developing crafts, such as glove making, porcelain making, and metalwork. But in World War II, Hitler did not respect the neutrality and invaded Luxembourg. He even drafted men into his army. The Grand Duchess Charlotte chickened out and went on exile, first to France, then to the US. She broadcasted to the people of Luxembourg from Boston. I wonder if she said, "Don't be a chicken." After the war, Luxembourg became a rich city because the majority of its economy is in finance. It is a bit of a tax haven for the rich Europeans. In the 70s, only 25% of the residents were foreigners, but today, it is more than 70%. Luxembourg saw rapid expansions. Right next to the old palaces and neighborhood, there is a lot of new and modern buildings. Coincidentally, when we were leaving, the Grand Duke was coming home. Again, a motorcycle was in front of the car, yelling at other cars on the road to pull over. How nice of you to give us a show, Grand Duke Henry. Overall, these two places were an eye-opening experience for me, since I learned a lot about how wars shaped their history. I am glad that those wars are in museums now and not in reality. But when we got to Germany, the current war of Ukraine is very much a reality. We will talk about that in our next episode.